Right, good evening. This is the Board of Directors regular meeting. Today's Thursday, December 10th, 6 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely via Zoom. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Director Gould.
Here.
And Orzali.
Here.
Wood.
Here.
Kelly.
Present.
Sailors.
Here.
Clark.
Present.
Jones.
Here.
White.
Here.
And Sheets. Turning it back over to you.
Awesome. At this time, I'd like to ask Director Kelly if he would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Director
Ready.
Kelly, are you on mute?
Ready. Ready, pledge. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the
to
Flag of the United States
United States of America
and to
to
the
the
republic
republic for which it stands,
stands one nation under God,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
liberty,
and justice for all.
justice for all. Thank you. All right, now it is the Metro Cable announcement. The open session meeting is videotaped for Cablecast on Metro Cable 14. Replay on Sunday, December 13th at 8 p.m. and Monday, December 14th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. Webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. This is now the public's opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the district's jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
We do have one speaker this evening. I believe he has called in. Art, if you could go ahead and unmute all of our callers. I'd like to call on Mr. David Warren, who will have 3 minutes to address our board this evening.
Okay, the attendees, the callers have been unmuted. If you'd like to speak now, please do.
Mr. Warren?
Well, it's showing unmuted on my end. I'm not sure if there's a control on Zoom side that he needs to do, but I can't control that any further.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. The instruction didn't come through. My name's David Warren, and I'm assuming that you've all had an opportunity to review my letter of 3 December that I sent to you. I will not bother going through it in detail. The reason for my phone call is that after yesterday's Board of Supervisors meeting, I became, and previously because of my experience in the ED with my wife, I became very concerned about the welfare of the fire department personnel that I witnessed being abused by so many of our citizens. I saw too many people arriving in the middle of the night fully clothed, unmasked, refusing to wear masks, etc. Obviously, some of them arrived under the influence. I was even more concerned when I returned home the next day to find that the chiefs of police and the county sheriffs had stated they will make no effort to enforce the governor's orders concerning COVID-19 restrictions. As it appears that the life, health, safety issues are not as significant to governmental authorities in Sacramento County, and money seems to be the primary mover both for the private sector and for the government people are listening. I think it's important that this board address to the community the high cost of not enforcing the COVID-19 restrictions, the high cost of overtime, the workman's comp, the extra PPE, et cetera, that the county is forced to pay for because the enforcement is not going forward. I'm requesting by this phone call and my letter that the board make a forcible written statement to the public that they expect law enforcement and the county health department to fully enforce the COVID-19 restrictions to make sure that the emergency responders' health, safety, and welfare is maintained and protected, because it surely is not after what I saw in the ED. These are people who are highly skilled, highly important, and for people, especially of my age, they are a lifeline that without them, my life and that of my wife is greatly imperiled. Our silence is not going to do anybody any good. Today, the Korean Medical Journal announced that even being 20 feet away can cause COVID spread. It's important, therefore, that the governor's COVID-19 restrictions be enforced, and I ask that you voice your support and demand for action with both the county and the cities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Are there any questions or comments from the board members? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Warren, for your statement.
Have a good day.
You too, sir.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
sorry, this is Director Jones. I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to thank, just wanted to acknowledge and to thank Mr. Warren for bringing the issue forward. It is not agendized on our calendar for tonight's meeting, but we do appreciate participation and input from the public. So thank you.
And one other thing, I'll be making comments about Mr. Warren's letter during the director's comments section.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Again, thank you, Mr. Warren. All right. We'll be moving on to the consent items. Are there any questions from the board members?
Again, Madam Chair, sorry, I had to reach out. I did reach out earlier to Chief Casatini for a couple of questions. I know on the consent agenda, and I wanted to thank him for his responses to my inquiries.
Wonderful.
Madam Chair, I'd move the consent.
Great. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Ms. Pena, can you please call the roll?
Director Gould.
Aye.
Orzali,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Sailors,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
and Sheets.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, moving on to our presentation item. First presentation, swearing in ceremony and Chief Harms.
Good evening, directors. I get the honor tonight of swearing in Divisions 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9 for the 2024 term. So after discussion, we will attempt to do it on Zoom. So if you folks want to unmute your devices and then raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I,
Chair Wood, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of
California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies,
domestic and
Domestic.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
And I will
That I will
bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United
Constitution of the
States
United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
California,
that I take this obligation freely
and I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental
full
reservation
reservation,
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will
And I will
faithfully
well and faithfully
and
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
to enter.
Thank you and congratulations to each of you to your newly elected position. I personally look forward to working together with you for the next 4 years. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief.
All right, moving on to the second presentation item, Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District 20th Anniversary. Chief Harms, you are up again.
Thank you, everybody. I just have a brief comment here, and then we have a video that we're going to show. December 1st on 2020 was the 20-year anniversary of Metro Fire. We come from almost 100 years of history of a number of different agencies, 16 of them together. Officially on December 1st, 2020, we organized the American River and the Sacramento County Fire Protection District into Metro Fire. At that time, we became the 7th largest fire agency in the state of California, and pulling together multiple cultures to begin really forging who we are today into what we call the Metro Way. The last 20 years of Metro Fire really has become recognized across the state as a forward-thinking organization, providing all hazards, and really has become a leader across the state during this past 20 years. Over the years, each of the governing bodies, yourselves, the fire chiefs, labor management, and the members have brought new resources in across the times, introduced new operational ways to approach our service delivery, and really look at during those times our ability to continue to provide service to each and everybody that is out there. As I said, Captain Vestal is going to show a video here really quick. I just want to give a special thanks in the very beginning to Fire Chief Rick Martinez. Rick was one of the leading folks back in the day to be able to pull this together and to be able to move it forward. There were 2 board members who have been here 20 years since the very beginning of it, Director Jones and Director Gould. And I believe, Director Gould, you were the vice president at that time. And Director Jones, I believe you were the secretary when the boards came together. So thank you both for your leadership during that time and for being able to look out into the future and being able to do those things as we move forward in there. Director Gould or Director Jones, do you have any comments on the past 20 years?
well, as everyone knows, we're all only 39, so let's get that out of the way. I'm sure Grant has a much more eloquent way of saying this, but I have seen the growth and the development of Metro Fire, and there have been some ups and downs. That didactic moving is part of the nature of the business. I am so proud of all the progress that Metro Fire has made, and that our positioning, both locally, regionally, statewide, and larger, has grown and will continue to grow. And I'm very, very proud of all the work, effort, sweat, and tears that everyone has put into this. So far, we have been successful, and I anticipate the same for the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kay. You know, I would just say that each of us is on a individual path. And along my path, being involved in the activities of Metro Fire for the last 2 decades has been the highest honor that I could ever imagine. And as my path continues, I'll continue to look back at the years and the growth and the friendships that I've built over the last 2 decades. And it's just inspiring to know that 20 years from now, there'll be somebody sitting in these meetings thinking about the next consolidation that will bring greater efficiencies and greater development and provide greater opportunities for the men and women of our agency. I've been honored to know all of the chiefs that we've hired, and it's been pretty spectacular. But most importantly, it's the men and women that do the job every day, not necessarily the politicians. So again, It is my highest honor to know all of you, consider you my friend, and I hope it continues for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you all for your commitment. And now we will have Captain Vestal show us our 20-year video. This is the first of a series of videos that have been put together. Thank you to Chief Martinez. Thank you to Chief Rice, or President Rice now, for them participating in this first of a series of videos.
And Art, if you want to go ahead and start that, we'll start out there.
What is the reputation of Metro Fire? To a person, each of them talk about their interactions and how great their interactions were with Metro Fire, how much they enjoy, appreciate, and support Metro Fire.
Rick Martinez is the reason there's a Metro Fire, period, bar none.
2000 was the same but different.
Metro Fire came into being on December 1st, 2000.
Metro Fire is one of the last agencies that one phone call, 2 questions, and within 5 minutes, you have a group of individuals that are highly trained, very professional, and care that will show up and we solve problems. That's what we do day in and day out. And so, again, it's the membership that does the work every single day that, for me as a fire chief, makes me proud to be part of Metro Fire.
The best job I ever had at Metro Fire was the 16 years I spent as a captain. It was quite a feeling to be part of that accomplishment, and to be a fire captain in then Metro Fire.
The benefit to the citizenry off day one was a more coordinated approach.
We're proud of our team, and some of us, you know, whether I came from Carmichael or Arden or Arcade or Citrus Heights, we all have our own internal team pride, although we all came together as Metro Fire.
It not only was a great career, it was one that was very rewarding. The work is great, but I made some lifelong friends, and that's probably the number one thing. Those accomplishments are the hard work of the men and women, both suppression and in the office and in the shop and every aspect of this district, who come to work with a mindset of getting the job done, who not only give you their time, which is what you pay them for, but they give you your heart, the skill set.
In 20 years, there's a lot of changes that happen with people. But as an organization, our core values have to stay the same. We'll go through some changes right now, but I think in 20 years, we'll reflect back that our core values are still the same.
The next 20 are going to be the best, and I hope people take this correctly, because most of us that were here at the inception are going to be retired out, and it is critically important that the new members build and establish Metro Fire.
Directors, President Chiefs, and Chief Arms, thank you. This project has really been a privilege as well as an honor to make. As I look back at my own career at Metro Fire, which started in 2003, and I think about everything that I knew about it starting back in 2000 when my brother got hired here, now Guy Chief Vestal. You know, I think back to why, and you heard Chief Martinez mention that coordinated approach to service delivery, still the hallmark of what we do today at Metro Fire. We're here to provide effective and efficient fire service, EMS, and community services as well. But as we look at that and we look at that past foundation, where we're at today with the innovation that we're able to deploy in response to COVID, things like mobile integrated health, and then looking ahead at the future with what's next for Metro Fire. And that's really what I'm hoping to capture in this series of videos. And I couldn't do it without the help of people like Chief Martinez, who it was just a joy to listen to him and hear him talk about what took place before 2000 to create this agency. And then Chief and now President Rice, hearing everything that he had to say about that honor that day that we became Metro Fire when he was handed his badge. And of course, now the vision of Chief Arms. So as we do that, it's not just about that, but why are all of us here at Metro Fire? The opportunities, the different things it allows us to pursue, me having this role as a PIO and several other jobs, those opportunities wouldn't be present in other agencies. So that's where we're going with this whole video project. And we're also going to feature an EMS video, operations. There's going to be a section that we're calling the special district. And we're going to have lots of other people from the agency who will be named later, but they're excited about participating. We're going to get that full circle about everything that it is that we do, from our reserve firefighters, logistics, fleet, our IT division, and all these things that make us who we are and are really going to help us move towards the future, that are the foundation for the pride that all of our members have. Hopefully you have started to receive your 20-year patches. Vanilla has those for you if you haven't yet, but we've already started to see some people putting them on their uniforms. There's somebody who we missed, and he's been hounding me for the last couple of about a day and a half to make sure that he gets this. There's a lot of pride in the organization, a lot of pride about hitting this milestone for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Vestal. That ends
Nice
our
work.
presentation, unless you have any questions.
Yes.
That's
Any
what our packet
questions?
looks like.
That's awesome.
I'll
Any
add one more
questions or
thing.
comments?
One more thing is that one of the other real cool things to see is that we have Chief Mitchell and Chief Wagaman here tonight as Deputy Chief or soon to be Deputy Chief. And original Metro Fire people here on day one or shortly after. And the organization, like Chief Rice said, is about to be led by those people. It already is being led by several Metro Fire hires. And that's a monumental thing for us. That's something that a lot of us are looking forward to, without any disrespect to those that came from other agencies or anywhere else. It's neat to see that evolution occur.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments for the chief or Mr. Vestal? All right, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. Moving on to the 20-year service to Director Gould and Director Jones. Chief Harms.
Again, I'd just like to congratulate tonight Director Jones and Director Gould for 20 years of service. I tried to, or I should have sat down and figured out how many board meetings, conference calls, board packets, retreats, station visits, calls. It has to be just hundreds and hundreds of them. But when I look at that stability, consistency, the long-term ability for the organization to be able to move forward, again, we could not do it with your support and your drive to move this agency forward. So thank you very much. I get you both even being here after 20 years. Tonight on the policy committee, Grant was still fired up and ready, engaged, and making our organization better. As Gay said, Gay goes through the packet, looks at what's in the packet, questions, calls on all of us, makes sure that we are in line with the goals and the policies of the district. So from me to all of you, or to both of you, I appreciate your guidance. I appreciate your support and your positions on the board. So thank you both for your 20 years of service.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to the first action item, election of board officers. Ms. Pania.
All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight, during our December meeting, we have a chance to thank our current executive committee. So thank you, President Sheets, Vice President Kelly, and Secretary Sailors. I know you've been tasked with being our executive team during an unprecedented year, and it probably wasn't what you thought of, spending a majority of these meetings on Zoom. but I do thank you for all of your efforts during this year. With that said, I'd like to just note in your board packet tonight, there was a staff report and it outlined the different duties of the 3 positions. And every year in December, we select who's going to be the committee for next year. So tonight, we are going to go through that and nominate the president, vice president, and secretary for 2021. And with that, I will take any questions.
Any questions from the board members? All right, hearing no questions, I'll entertain a nomination for board president.
Madam Chair, it would be my honor to nominate Director Kelly to serve as president of the Board of Directors of Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District.
And I'd like to second that.
Ms. Pena, do we need to take these separately or can we do it all at the end?
It is definitely up to you. The motion is on the table for just the president right now. If you would like to include
I will accept the nomination.
Oh, wonderful. We have a first and a second and an acceptance. I guess if you could please call the roll.
All right. Director Gould.
Absolutely.
Boris Alley.
Yes.
Wood.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Sailors.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
And Sheets.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Wonderful.
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am. Sir.
If I may, I would like to elect or nominate Director Sailors for the Vice President's chair.
I'll second
And
that.
I'd like to second that.
Great. You have a first and a second. Ms. Pena, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Director Gould.
Absolutely.
Boris Alley.
Yes.
Wood.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Sailors.
I accept the nomination and I vote aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
And Sheets.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I will entertain a nomination for the secretary position.
Madam Chair, this is Director Jones. In keeping with our past practices of general rotation of directors, I very wholeheartedly would like to nominate Delman Clark for the position of Secretary of Metro Fire's Board of Directors.
Second that.
We have a first and a second. Can you please call the roll?
Director Wood.
Aye.
Boris Alley.
Aye.
Gould.
Still absolutely.
Got you a little out of order there. Sorry. Kelly.
Aye.
Sailors.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye. And I proudly accept the nomination.
Jones.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
And Sheets.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Great. Moving on to the second action item, project authorization, Future Fire Station 68. It looks like we have Jeff Fry and Aaron Castleberry.
Yes, thank you, President Sheets, and good evening, directors and Chief Harms. I believe this is my third or fourth update for the board on this project. Very excited and happy to bring this. If you recall, a couple of months ago, I was before the board describing some challenges with our budget with the project and some steps that we had taken to reduce the project budget from the original estimates between 12 and 15 million to the proposed budget of 8 to 9 million. So very excited to inform the board tonight that the bids are in and our efforts were successful. We estimate that the budget today is about $8.7 million. There are a couple of fees we are still running down as of about 5 o'clock tonight, 3 or 4 outstanding fees related to utilities and permits and so forth. So we are going to ask the board for a little leeway and ask for a $9 million budget, which is within the scope of the goal we had established. So before I turn it over to Aaron to go through some of the details, I just want to take a second and publicly thank Aaron for the work on the project. You've heard and seen a lot from me, but we had very early on, Aaron and I had worked together on a couple of projects for Metro Fire, and we were talking about our goals for this particular project. And something that was very important to me was having a single point of contact. With a dynamic project like this, details can get missed, and that's when big mistakes are made. Aaron was up for the challenge and has done an absolutely fantastic job with what I would call filling the project manager role in taking care of the day-to-day. So again, thank you, Aaron, for all your work. And with that, I would invite you to walk the board through the requested actions that we're asking for tonight.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Good evening, everyone. We are very excited to bring this in front of you tonight and hopefully take this to the next level and get this station built. So with that said, Jeff did mention that we put a significant effort into value engineering and cutting costs. And as he mentioned, that did pay off. We issued our bid document in October. And we had about 20 attendees attend a mandatory job walk for that. We did visit the site and had a pre-bid conference. And we did a public bid opening on November 19th. We received 8 bids, and the lowest responsive and responsible bidder has been identified as McEwen Construction, with a bid of $6,460,650. So as Jeff mentioned, with this cost, it brings our budget to roughly $8.7 million. That includes our hard costs and our soft costs, including some contracts that the board has already approved for design, construction management, et cetera. So where we are at today and what we're requesting from the board basically is approval of the bid award for McEwen Construction. We also have several separate contracts that we will be executing in conjunction with the general contractor. And these are for contracts for district standardized equipment or systems, like the fire alarm system, our access control system, data cabling system, and our station alerting system. So these contracts will be separately executed with our district vendors that we use for these standardized systems. One of those, which is the station alerting system, is over the threshold for the formal bidding process with a cost of, I believe, $106,000. And that is for WestNet for the station alerting system. And in addition to those separate contracts, we obviously have all of the permitting fees and fees due to other agencies like Sac Sewer and Sacramento County Water, the school district, and SMUD, PG&E, all the utilities. So as Jeff mentioned, we're estimating an $8.7 million budget. We are asking for $9 million authorization to finish up the project. This will require executing those contracts, paying all of the permitting fees, and also fulfilling all of the conditions of approval for the permit, which includes some other agreements with regard to frontage improvements and right of entry agreement with an adjacent landowner, just for storage for the construction, et cetera. So the fiscal impact, as we discussed in the staff report, the development impact fee fund will be funding this station. Currently, there is, I believe this fiscal year, a current balance of projected at the end of this fiscal year, $1.2 million, give or take. That includes fees that we estimate we will be paying and construction costs we estimate we will be paying through the end of this fiscal year. The remaining funding would total about 2.7 million in next fiscal year. So between the 1.2 million that we anticipate will be available, plus the fees we expect to collect between now and the end of the project, we feel that this budget is reasonable and will be sufficiently covered by all of those fees. So with all of that said, we are requesting the board tonight to, number one, authorize the project to move forward with the $9 million total budget. Item number two, approve the bid award for McEwen Construction. Item number three, approve the sole source award for WestNet for the installation of the station alerting system. And item number four would be to authorize the fire chief or his designee to sign any associated agreements, provide documents, signatures, and pay all of the required fees to move the project to completion. If for some reason we ever anticipate that this budget will go over 9 million, we would of course bring that back to the board at that time for further authorization. If you have any questions, I can take them now. Otherwise, we would request the approval on those items.
Thank you, Ms. Castleberry. Yes, sir.
I just want to say thanks to Aaron and to Jeff for all of their work on this. I know it's a big deal for all of us out here in southeastern Sacramento County, so I appreciate all of that. And I would make a motion that we approve all four items, the budget, the contract with McEwen, the contract for WestNet, and the authorization to the chief as they're listed in the agenda today as the recommendation item, unless Melissa or John say we can't do it that way.
And I'll second that.
Great. We have a first and a second. Can you please call the roll?
Yes, I'll go ahead and call the roll. And I do believe we can do it that way. So it'll be one roll call for all four of those. Director Gould.
Aye.
Warzala.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Kelly.
Aye.
Sailors.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
And Sheets.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, moving on to the third action item, notice of award, RFP 2021 Community Risk Assessment and Community Risk Reduction Plan. Deputy Fire Marshal, Ms. Fields.
Good evening, directors, chief harms, and executive staff. Krishana Fields, Deputy Fire Marshal here in the Community Risk Reduction Division. Before you this evening is a notice of award, request for proposal 2021, Community Risk Assessment and Community Risk Reduction Plan. Start with just a quick overview of what this Community Risk Assessment project is. This Community Risk Assessment is a data-driven all-risk assessment of our service area. While risk assessments are common with standards of cover, this assessment differs in that it utilizes data to take a deep dive into what's really happening in our communities, to guide our targeted prevention, education, and enforcement efforts to mitigate the risks that are identified in the assessment, with the ultimate goal of enhancing the 19 communities or the safety of the 19 communities that we serve. This community risk assessment and resulting community risk reduction plan is expected to be completed July the 15th of 2021. So on September 24th, the board approved and accepted the $261,518 fire prevention and safety grant to complete this community risk assessment and resulting community risk reduction plan. On October the 9th, we issued the RFP with a deadline of submission of November the 2nd. And on November the 2nd, we received a request from multiple proposers to extend that deadline, which we did to November the 9th. After that, we received 5 proposals from Facets Consulting, Emergency Services Consulting International, Center for Public Safety Management, Matrix Consulting Group, and Beyond Lucid Technologies. On November the 20th, our evaluation committee reviewed those proposals in accordance with the RFP. The resulting scores are shown here on the screen, with Fastest Consulting receiving the highest score of 76.67. The committee selected Fastest Consulting, having received the highest score, having an expertise specifically in the development of the NFPA standard for community risk assessments, and having the ability to meet our project deadlines. Proposed cost of this reward is $211,629. This cost is fully funded by the fiscal year 19 Fire and Prevention and Safety Grant and included in our fiscal year 2021 budget. Tonight, we're asking the board to approve the contract award to Fastest Consulting and to authorize the fire chief to execute an agreement in accordance with the terms of the RFP. That concludes my presentation, but I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions or comments from the board members?
Madam Chair, this is Director Jones, and I would like to thank Krishana Fields, our, I believe is Deputy Fire Marshal. Excellent job. I'm really looking forward to that deep dive that she mentioned. This is part of that value enhancement, value focused activity that was reflected in the station development. And now we're going to see it with community risk reduction. So thank you, Deputy Fire Marshal Fields.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion or a second.
Madam Chair, I'll move the staff recommendation.
Second.
First and a second, can you please call the roll?
Director Gould,
Aye.
Borzali,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Sailors,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
and Sheets.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. Regarding action item number 4, we will discuss this after closed session. So we'll move on to the reports, the president's report. This is my last meeting as board president, and although it's been an extremely challenging year, I'd like to thank the fire chief, Melissa, and Art for all their help and guidance through this virtual experience. I do miss our in-person meetings, seeing everyone and hearing about their plans. I look forward to the new normal in 2021, and I feel so grateful to be part of this amazing organization. And I feel blessed that my constituents reelected me for another 4 years. So I just wanted to say thank you again. All right, moving on to the fire chief's report, Chief Harms.
Good evening, directors. While this year seems to have dragged by at times, I can't believe another year has gone by. And I think in the beginning of these meetings, I thought that we would be doing this for just a couple of months. But it has become kind of the new norm of meeting, and we're adapting to it. So tonight, the first thing I'd like to do is wish Chief Brian Shannon congratulations. This is his last meeting tonight, and he will retire on Tuesday of next week. If you look back to 2016, 4 years ago, coming in as a new member and a new fire chief here, I interviewed Brian and looked at the position within support services and have never not looked back or not have been just as happy as could be with his performance. The thing that I guess I didn't realize during the time was, we started off as colleagues and have become just very good friends along the way there. So Brian, congratulations. I did ask him to sing tonight at his time. I'm not real sure if he's going to sing or not. We'll have to see what happens during that time as we move forward. Brian, did you want to say something?
No. Hey, let me just throw it out there now. I don't think I'm going to be singing, but I do want to say thanks. It's been a great ride. It's been a long career. I think back. I've spent really my whole life around these fire stations with my dad, starting to work here approximately a little over 50 years ago. And my uncle also working here. So it's been I guess a lifetime of being around these firehouses. And I couldn't ask for a better career. With even Director White sitting on the board there. I remember many times sitting in the middle of the night with our typing speed at a blazing, horrible speed, doing reports over at Station 24 when I was a young firefighter and chief or director, a young captain too. And the time has just gone by super fast. So I appreciate Chief Harms having the ability to have some confidence in me to be on your staff. And I want to say thank you to the board. I've known a few of you for a long, long time. Director Gould, we go back a long time from the EMS side of things and teaching for you at AR. Obviously, Director White and everybody else that's been on the board for years. Council Lavra, I appreciate all the guidance. To have a non-legal firefighter trying to do some work around here, and your guidance have been appreciated over the years. So just appreciation for a long career, and it's been wonderful. I couldn't ask for a better career. So thanks, Chief Harms, for letting me speak.
You gonna sing?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Disappointing. You can lead them all the way to the end, and they don't do it.
Sure, it is
A few items tonight as far as promotions. Congratulations to Ryan McMahon, promoting to captain effective 12/12. And for facilities manager, John Rayside, he will be effective at the end of the month. Congratulations to both John and Ryan. If I add Brian into it, by the end of the month here, we'll have 139 years of experience in Metro Fire, retiring into that next chapter. So Brian's going at the end of the month. We had Captain Jeremy Horde, who has 19 years on the job, Battalion Chief Dave Durham with 29 years, Engineer Mike Welsh with 31 years, and Firefighter Chris Hansen with 30 years. So you just think of the changes that have happened over those 29, 30 years, and the experience that those people have had, and the service that they have provided to the community is just phenomenal. So congratulations to each one of them. I hope that they have just a wonderful, long, healthy retirement in the future. Some promotional opportunities out there. Internally, we have a supervising investigator and a supervising inspector that was out there, and we'll fill that by the end of the year. We are looking at the EMS Battalion Chief Day assignment. I believe that just closed, and so we'll see for a internal development opportunity there. Some of the meetings and some of the activities over the last 4 weeks. We had the PDP, which is the Professional Development Program. I have really enjoyed during my time here. We usually do 2 sessions a day, back-to-back days, where we're able to sit down with the members and just kind of talk one-on-one. It has always been the state of the district, what's going on, what's happening. We did this format on Zoom. We were able to do 3 of those. Myself, Chief Cassantini, Chief Mitchell, Chief Wagaman, Chief Shannon, and then the shift commanders each day. It's very different, but I just feel it's so important that we continue to communicate, talk with the members, put things that are out there that's happening across the district. These, much like the Chiefs forms, we recorded them and then put them up online so that folks can go back later and take a look at them. But again, as far as communicating of what's happening, trying to maintain some normal and still put those things out there. The end of November, our executive staff met with the Sac City Fire, the fire chief and the DCs. It is something we started, Chief Walt White started it when we first arrived here, and we've continued on with that to maintain relationships and consistency. Myself and Chief Mitchell went and met with Citrus Heights Police Chief Ron Lawrence and the city manager, Chris Boyd. Just again, it was no real agenda or items, but just to continue to foster the relationship, talk about things that are happening within the district, things that are happening with Citrus Heights. They did buy breakfast, which was nice. Rancho Cordova 2x2 meeting, Director Jones, Director Woods, we had our meeting with them. I'll let them talk more about those. I think just a great benefit was what we saw with the The station, when we were going through with the station and looking at some of the permitting things, and with being able to get the final okay from Rancho Cordova City, I was able to give Cyrus a call, and I'm sure he gets a lot of calls to fast track things, but we really wanted to be able to get it done, have it on tonight's agenda. So the ability to have that cell phone calling him, and again, because of I think the relationships and the partnerships, he was able to do that to keep our project on tap. So thank you, and I'll let you guys talk more about that. I attended virtually the Greater Sacramento annual celebration from the Greater Sacramento Chamber of Commerce, our Cal Chiefs monthly calls, and then just this week we had our labor management meeting where we sat down and really with COVID and everything, just trying to keep up. Having Vice President McGoldrick here in the office is great, but being able to get all of the different directors from their side of it and all of their reps and just have a conversation to help reduce rumors and then some projects to work forward with. So a great job moving forward. The last thing I just wanted to talk about was with everything that has been going on this past year and the impact that it's had on our members and in the community. At this time of year, we really wanted to look at what are the opportunities for us to give back to the community. In the past, we've had partnership up with either maybe the sheriff's office for a toy drive, stations adopt families. We've been drop-off points for presents. And with everything happening, it has just been very different to be able to do that. Management, along with Local 522 and the association, came up with a kind of a holiday donation drive. And what we did is we divided the district into 3 separate areas. So we took Battalion 7 and Battalion 9, and their donations are going to go to the Rayleigh's Food for Families. Battalion 13 and Battalion 5 are supporting the Citrus Heights Holiday Referral. And Battalion 4 and the professional staff are supporting the Rancho Cordova Christmas in Cordova. We set our goal for $1,500 underneath each one of those 3 different areas. I'm happy to say that we've exceeded our goal. I'm very happy with Mike McGoldrick and Local 522 being able to set seed money into each one of those. And then today, the association came out for a last minute push and said they would match anybody's donations up to $1,000. And the response has just been great. We are over $5,000 in donations, and each one of those will be going out to the individual areas for the holidays. So that ends my report, unless you all have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the chief? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the operations report. Deputy Chief Mitchell.
Thank you, President Sheets. Good evening, directors and Chief Harms. And my name is Adam Mitchell. I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations. I have a few items for you all tonight. First off, I'll start off with the COVID update. As you all are aware, this is a constantly evolving item that we're dealing with, and we're continuously adapting to the new information and guidance that's put out there. We have a comprehensive plan that is in the final stages of development so that we can continue to do the consistent decision making and be transparent with everybody in the membership about how we're making decisions and moving forward. That goes from any time we get a notification of an exposure or a positive all the way to return to work and everything in between. It's been a lot of work that's gone into that. I appreciate all the different folks that have provided information and inputs, and that'll be a good document that we'll have together, a draft document by the end of this week. It's been a challenge just based off of all the changes we've continued to see and predicted changes in the near future. But once we have it written down, we can adapt it as those changes come in. We've also been looking at forecasting what a vaccination plan would be. We don't have any, we don't know what we don't know yet. And so in preparation for that, we've been working with our medical directors and the Department of Public Health to stay up on the latest information that's available so that when we do have access, we're able to be proactive in making sure that we can support that logistically. But again, we'll be working closely with our guidance organizations on how we do that once it becomes available. We are right now working to provide some educational materials out to the membership based off of the information available from the CDC and our medical directors and Dr. Rossiter, so that we can answer those questions proactively before it's available for the members that have questions. And with the increase that we've seen, our member testing program continues. It's been supported. We will continue to report it. Each day we're seeing anywhere between 10 all the way up to 75 members that are moving through Station 109 being tested for different reasons. That has been a huge undertaking, and I would like to specifically send out the thanks to Captain Scott Perryman in coordination with EMS and Chief Law. We've been able to really provide a great service to our membership in allowing them to come in and be tested in a very efficient manner so that we can either identify how to get them back healthy again or back healthy again and then a return to work. And then also those folks that maybe had an exposure that we can confirm that they were not positive and that we can get them back to work to staff the fire stations. And it's important to note that commitment to our members' health and well-being is a paramount priority for us at the executive level. And so with that being said, I know earlier in the year when we first got into this COVID situation, we had the emergency operations team that facilitated a lot of, really it was a central point for gathering a lot of information and providing it and putting plans together. We're reinitiating or reestablishing that team as we move through this spike in COVID to be able to once again be in a good position to support our membership based off of the sheer numbers that we're seeing out in the community as well as within our own agency. Since the beginning of COVID, we've had that total tests we've done is over 800. So that's the member testing we've done through 109. So it's 803, and we've seen total positives since the beginning for the membership right at 67. That's to note, though, based off of what we've seen, obviously out in the communities, since November 1st, we've performed just under 400 of those tests. So nearly half since November 1st, which is pretty astounding. And then with that, we've identified 51 of our 67 positives since that point. So as you can tell with those numbers, that's a huge driving force for why we're standing up the emergency operations team again to address these items. We've got a great team in place. Everybody's working really hard to support the members. And we've been really, really successful in that. We just want to make sure we're in a good position moving forward to continue to do that for the sustainable program that we have up running now for the next number of months. And hopefully once the vaccination comes out, we start seeing that tail off. And so with those numbers, I think it's important to point out that we have had some staffing impacts. We talked last time about the emergency response and staffing plan we have in place. Unfortunately, just based off of the numbers and growth we've seen, we've had to institute that plan a number of times recently with a couple of brownouts. Fortunately, I think it's important to point out the membership has done a great job stepping up and being able to backfill. We've had upwards of 80 people off at times, but we have really been able to minimize the number of brownouts because the membership stepping up and coming back to work when we're in that situation of need. So they continue to do a good job there. The best practices that we've put out, and again, under the Sac County Department of Public Health, the CDC, the medical directors, and EMS, we continue to follow those best practices, reinforcing them. We're constantly providing messaging to the membership about what those are and the changes. And with that, I would like to just touch on the holiday gatherings. I know we've seen a number of requests for our personnel to be out at holiday gatherings. Fortunately, we've been able to adapt our processes to stay within those best practices, but still attend as available the holiday parades and static displays with no contact types of events. And so I know we've seen some success there, and we will continue to do that through the end of the year. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do the same that we normally do with having folks driving around in our apparatus, but we will do our best to support those events in the community. Next, back on Tuesday of this week, on December 8th, just before 4 a.m., we had crews dispatched out in Battalion 5 in the North Highlands area for a structure fire. There was a structure fire there that on arrival, our first companies identified based off some occupants in the house reporting somebody missing. Our crews were on scene from time of dispatch to being there in 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes, which is a good thing. First engine initiated fire attack, followed closely behind with the ambulance and the engine behind them performing a search and rescue. They were able to locate a victim very quickly inside. The juvenile victim was moved out and was transported code 3 under CPR to UC Davis Hospital. Although the circumstances surrounding the initial status and intubated that patient as well in the emergency department with some burns that looked fairly dire. I'm happy to report that since that point, that patient has been extubated and is able to form words and is speaking with staff at the hospital, which is really, really great news. That's one of those that really reinforces the training that we do and the tactical efforts we put in, and having the live fire training as well as the PPE that we have moved through the board and approved in the past. That's a big win about why we do that. And so it's really, really important to reinforce we're able to do those things because of your support, and appreciate that. Also, the members' efforts and their passion for what they do in that successful rescue is second to none. It's really great to report that to you. And then finally on that, we did notice as part of the investigation, there were no working smoke detectors in the home. We were able to, through our community relations, put some teaching points together, if you will, to put out through media, as well as through our social media channels to be able to reinforce the need for working smoke detectors as we move through the holiday season. And then finally, we continue to follow up and support the family with anything they would need. The Firefighters Pacific Burn Institute has offered there, and not just offered, but is providing assistance as needed, as well as through some of the other charities that are available to help that family through this holiday season. Let's see, next, just operational numbers. We ran, since our last meeting, just under 8,000 calls, and no surprise, busiest engine company has been Engine 53. And then the busiest medic company is Medic 224. So we added that second ambulance there based off the station having been Medic 24 being very busy. We added that second ambulance. As you can tell by those numbers, it's paying off. The calls aren't short. It's really been good to be able to provide an additional service out of that station with that medic. Some good news for we have our current process open for our awards and accommodations. In December here, I think in this year, we can all agree that how trying it's been. I think it's a bright spot that we can go through this month, and by the end of the month, take nominations for those members of the year. We're encouraging our folks in the district to nominate the other members that have really done a great job in dealing with our situation this year. And we'll recognize them. Still don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Obviously, with our current restrictions, we'll continue to do that, what our gala looks like, or if we're able to hold that into next year and be recognizing those members. So that's a really good positive. And then last, I've been in this position for just over 1 month. I've got it all figured out. I'm just kidding. It's been like drinking from a fire hose a little bit, but I'll be honest, it's been a challenging month, humbling to be in the position, but I think importantly, it's been an inspiring experience to see what our members are able to do day in and day out in operations, as well as throughout the district and the relationships we have. It's been a really great month. I look forward to 2021 and what that brings and the new things I'm going to be exposed to and learn, but appreciate the opportunity. I would like to say congratulations to Chief Shannon. Appreciate that. I know I'm new in the role, but you've been very helpful as well throughout my career. I appreciate what you've done. And most importantly, I can't wait for Chief Wagaman to start his job next week so that I'm no longer the new guy on the block. Just kidding, Tyler. So with that, I'll give it back. Happy holidays to everybody. And that's the end of my report. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chief Mitchell. Any questions or comments for Chief Mitchell? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to Firefighters Local 522. Mr. McGoldrick.
Good evening, President Sheets and Board of Directors. I just have a few things tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank Joel Roberts and Sean Condit for their service to the union and the membership as directors of Local 522. They have chosen to step down, and we have elected 2 new directors, Sean Schollard and Pete Votava. I look forward to the transition and moving forward with them. As an agency, I can say I'm very proud to represent Metro Fire, and I'm glad to hear that Metro Fire is proud to represent other agencies. On the 30th of November, we were able to escort the chief's family home from Oakland with some Oakland fire engines. We sent a crew down with Andy Whaley, Dat Pham, Matt Sammons, Tom Chin, and Tony Hurd to represent the agency for a socially distanced memorial and escort home. That went well. I also need to thank Truck 23 C Shift, who also participated upon their arrival. On a lighter note, 2 things. Station 68. I was one of the first occupants in the single-wide mobile home out there. I'm glad to see we're making progress into an actual fire station. I think the community will enjoy it also. And I want to congratulate Brian Shannon. I've known the guy for a long time. I have heard him practice across the hallway. I don't think they knew I was in my office tonight, but they're over there giving a little workout to see if he would tune it up for the meeting. I guess he had a change of heart. Other than that, that's about all I have tonight.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments for Mr. McGoldrick? All right, thank you, sir. Moving on to committees and delegate reports. The executive committee, the newly appointed executive committee committee will be meeting on January 14th, 2021. Moving on to the Communications Center, JPA, Chief Shannon.
Thank you, President Sheets. A couple of things on the Comm Center JPA. Just as Chief Mitchell mentioned earlier, Chief Wagaman started and experienced quite a bit of a COVID-related illnesses at the Comm Center, which unfortunately, obviously taxed the operational and staffing and created challenges for that. As usual, Chief Wagaman, along with Chief Bailey, I think that might have been a blessing in disguise since they were doing a little bit of a transition there. We're able to get plans together, get testing together, reach out to member agencies, create contingency plans for operational issues and staffing issues, and really put forward a plan that was able to, I can't say we've got everything under control. It's over there, but the testing is improving. They're testing often, and the cases are going down considerably. So they're moving in the right direction. And I think just kind of thank you to the other members that are part of that JPA to assist in any way as possible. And so that was moving forward with them. And again, they're kind of experiencing some of the same COVID-related issues as our operations team were. With that, my next comment is just that there are transitions going on. As you know, Chief Ty Bailey is now the executive director of the Comm Center. His executive director contract is signed through June of 2021. Chief Wagaman is now will be taking over my position in support services come Monday, and I will be taking over retirement. So you have some very good folks coming into these positions, and they'll take this to the next level, I guarantee it. With that, President Sheets, that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments? All right, moving on to California Fire Rescue Training JPA, Chief Shannon.
Thank you again. I do not have a report for the California Fire Rescue and JPA. It'll be to be determined for our next meeting. End of report. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to Finance and Audit Committee, Director Rosali.
The Finance and Audit Committee has not met, and the next meeting is to be determined.
Thank you. Moving on to Policy Committee, Director Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This evening, the Policy Committee met. We had an audience of about 35 people, and we heard presentation items, 2 items. The first item was a social media policy that reflects an update in state law, making the use of photography on scenes of deceased individuals a misdemeanor when used inappropriately. And then the second policy that we heard on and took no action in both of these since they're administrative was a policy on telework. We had a robust conversation and that ended the meeting. That is the extent of my report, Madam.
All right, thank you, sir. We will move on to board questions and comments before we move into closed session, and we will start with Director White.
Well, thank you. First I want to acknowledge Mr. David Warren. I know that he expressed concerns that many of us share, but also understand the complexity of enforcing and really encourage the public for everyone's safety to adhere to the guidelines the best they can. And hopefully we'll all get through this pandemic. Also want to congratulate the district on 20 years. That's a pretty significant milestone, and I'm proud to be a small part of that rich history and tradition that's been developed over the last 20 years. I'm glad to see Chief Martinez recognized in the video to commemorate that. Chief Shannon, I don't know what to say. Watching him type, it was kind of like watching somebody type with boxing gloves on. And I'm pretty sure I was worse, so I'm not sure how either one of us ever got promoted, but I do want to say congratulations on a great career. I'd also like to congratulate the newly elected directors and the recently appointed or elected board president, vice president, and secretary treasurer. Earlier this month, Metro Fire made the effort to bring some holiday cheer to the Rancho Marietta community and brought Santa through the community adhering to, guidelines. I got a phone call from Operations Chief Mitchell letting me know that they were going to be playing it safe, but spreading some holiday cheer. And I got a lot of compliments from members of the community and how much they appreciated that. So I wanted to say thanks. Also want to thank or congratulate Captain McMahon and Facility Manager Rayside on their promotions. Congratulate our recent retirees, many of which I had the opportunity and the pleasure to work with over the years. Really want to thank the men and women of the fire department, the members of Local 522, for working through all the challenges of this year and stepping up and working many additional hours when needed. And also their participation as well as the associations in the many philanthropic efforts that the district is part of. And that concludes my report, and happy to be here.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to Director Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I would like to say thank you to you, Jennifer Sheets, as president for this 2020 totally unique, challenging year. Thank you for your leadership and your patience and your strength in helping to lead us through these incredibly unusual and difficult times. I would like to say thank you to everyone for the 20 years acknowledgement, and back at Metro Fire for 20 years. That's a terrific accomplishment. Chief Shannon, oh wow, okay, as I always say, best promotion ever, congratulations. It's been a real pleasure to work with you, always positive, you're always thoughtful, and I appreciate all of your efforts, even though I've only kind of known you for 20 years, but all righty, let's see. Our Rancho 2x2, a lot of different details, but all in all, it's basically a good faith conversation that we had, including issues from community risk reduction and outside dining, inside dining, that kind of stuff to assist with moving along Station 68. So those good faith conversations pay off, and I'm very grateful to the City of Rancho Cordova for that. Let's see. Thanks to Ops Chief Mitchell. You and your staff, everyone at Metro, has really contributed to such an attentive response for our membership within this COVID situation. I am very proud and satisfied that we are doing as much as we can for our members within this unique and actually terribly unique time. So that's kind of a downer, but in the meantime, we got to say Merry Christmas to everyone. So I want to wish everyone a happy holiday, safe journeys, celebrate safely. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you. We'll move on to Director Clark.
Okay, after those two directors, not a whole lot more to say, but first of all, Director Sheets, I do want to thank you for your leadership. This has been a weird, very challenging year, and you've done a fantastic job. Much appreciate your leadership. I want to thank these two fantastic directors, Gould and Jones. I've been serving with them for the last, since 2007. I've learned so much from these two individuals. Their wit, their humor, their leadership. It's just been fantastic. Been great, a great asset to Metro Fire. Let's see, Chief Shannon. Much love to you on your retirement. Hope you stay fit and healthy. That's the main thing about retirement. Let's see. Also, I want us to remember that we have a lot of people out there. Some of them are our constituents that are really having a hard time. Not everybody could work from home. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Their unemployment is running out. And that's something that I would like our community to keep in mind. There are a lot of people that are even facing hunger or food insecurity. So that's one thing that while we're celebrating, this festive season, we want to keep that in mind. I also want to thank the board for nominating me as a secretary, and congratulations to President Matt Kelly and VP Sailors. Last of all, I'm looking forward to doing Starking Elementary on the 17th with Mike Goldrick, and we're looking. The kids always look forward to that. I know I'm trying to stay safe and all that with the COVID, but you know what? This is something that I just can't miss. I just can't miss. I'm gonna be as safe as possible, and I know that we're gonna have a good time. And let's see. That's all I have, Madam Chair. It's so much, but once again, thank you so much for your leadership.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Moving on to Director Wood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to say that just congratulate everyone who's been here for the 20 years. I'm very proud to have been a part of this organization for almost 8 now of those last 20 years. Directors Jones and Gould, congratulations on your 20. We certainly wouldn't be here without what you guys have done for this organization. President Sheets, it was just 2 years ago when I was sitting in your spot and you were secretary. And I remember how uncomfortable you were about presiding over meetings and how much you did not want to do that when I or Director Barnes were absent. And it's quite good to see the role the way you've stepped into this role and just taken over during this time. And I appreciate all you've done for the organization. Chief Shannon, thanks for all you've always been a good ear, but a good resource for me. And I appreciate all that you've done. Had a great time with you in DC and Chief Lozano. And it's wonderful to see the results of that trip coming through with our mobile integrated health now on the streets as we speak. So thanks for everything you've done, and best to you in your retirement. On the 2x2, Director Jones already said everything I could add. The one thing that's really important is not so much that I found when I sit there is that it's not so much us talking to the council members, but it's actually the Chief Harms and the deputy chiefs and the deputy fire marshal that when they're there, they're able to talk to their counterparts or people at their level in the city, and they're able to get things done. Us electeds just sit and watch all the work happen. We don't really do anything. So it's great to be able to see that, and those connections and those relationships are, as has been said, are invaluable. Want to just say, I don't think Captain Vestal gets enough commendation, but he is always out there. He's out there at weird hours of the day and night on the news, working hard to make sure our message is out there, making sure our people are represented. And this was kind of a rough one with that North Highlands fire, but he held himself very professionally and covered that very well. And then with this video, in this video series he's putting together, I appreciate all of your work. And Melissa, thanks for everything you do for us through the year. Nobody said anything yet, but I know all of us do realize that we wouldn't get through a year without you. So thank you. And to everyone else, all our members, just stay safe. Have a happy holiday. Be smart. And be safe. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Moving on, Director Orzali.
Thank you. And I wanted to first commend you, President Sheets, on the job you've done this year. It has been a more arduous task than usual, and you have handled it beautifully. I also want to congratulate Chief Shannon on his retirement. It has been an honor to be associated with you. I truly appreciate everything that you've done for the district and for me. So go have a great retirement. You're going to find it to be a pretty interesting experience, as I have. So one last thing. I'd like to talk a little bit about Mr. Warren and his ask of the board. I would encourage us as a board to consider what Mr. Warren's request has been. And more important than the ask, that we do something demonstrative about our attitudes towards protecting the men and women of Metro Fire. I want to assure you that Mr. Warren is absolutely sincere. He has told me that both he and his wife have had their lives saved because of Metro Fire, and he's deeply appreciative of it. And with that, I will close. Thank you, and have a great Christmas.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, Director Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As has been said, thank you, President Sheets, for your leadership and your willingness to step out of your comfort zone in several instances. Thank you, Chief Shannon, for your friendship and your service to the community. Be well. Thank you to the voters of Citrus Heights for their confidence. And I'd like to congratulate the new executive committee for your willingness to serve in those roles. I'd also like to thank Chief Harms for his leadership and vision. You know, oftentimes I think the CEO of an organization doesn't get that thanks, but without this particular CEO, we would have greater challenges facing us. So I appreciate your leadership and vision and ability to work with our board. And finally, I'd like to wish all of you a happy holiday season with a challenge. Remember how each of us are so blessed. Just take a moment and think about our lives and how blessed each of us is on this board and in this organization, and take every opportunity we have to serve the less fortunate. I think it's important during this time that we consistently focus on fighting off what is commonly considered compassion fatigue. We really simply can't do that given the blessings that we all enjoy. Happy holidays. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Director Sailors.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to say thank you to everyone for their presentations. And Chief Shannon, you're going to love retirement. And I wish everyone out there a healthy and happy holiday season. Thank you for the board for allowing me this opportunity to serve in a new position. And please, everyone, just stay safe. And thank you to all the members that will continue to work through these holidays. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Sailors. Director Kelly. Director Kelly, you might be on mute.
You're still muted, Matt.
Thanks for letting me know. I wanted to congratulate everybody that had been reelected to their positions and sworn in this evening. That's something that was interesting in this COVID nightmare that everybody's been living. So appreciate the fact that you were all reelected and sworn in this evening. And nice job on the 20-year anniversary video. It was nice to see the architects of this district recognized, and certainly Director Jones and Director Gould, congratulations to each of you on your 20 years. I mean, your dedication to public service is unparalleled, and it's certainly admired by this individual. Mr. Shannon, I guess you're still Chief Shannon, but I thought I heard you say you're going to be running retirement. I'm sorry, you're going to be. You got to learn. You got to learn. There's a few of us, Director Rosali for one, been running retirement for a while. We don't have much luck. Anyways, it's pretty wonderful, and I think that you're going to enjoy it. So, in all honesty, you are going to have a blast. And then thanks for the confidence of my fellow directors to give me the opportunity to serve as chair of this organization one more time. I appreciate the conversations that I had with each of you. And then Director Sheets, I would like to thank you for guiding our board through the last year. You've done a fine job, and it looks like we're going to enjoy a wonderful 2021. And as everybody mentioned, if you have the opportunity to do something for somebody less fortunate than yourselves this year, let's do that. Director Gould mentioned compassion fatigue. Fight it every chance you get. I hope that everybody enjoys the rest of their evening. I'll see you all on closed session shortly.
Thank you. Yes, I also want to echo many of the sentiments that were from other board members wishing a healthy, long retirement for Chief Shannon and the other retirees. Also like to congratulate all those who had their promotions, and congratulate Sean Scollard and Pete Mataba. And I also wanted to wish everybody, all the members, a safe and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. And with that, we will move into closed session.